I think so. Her and Ashley. So that's coming up in a few weeks here. I'm gearing up for it right now.
Is it going to be around Halloween?
Yeah. I'm making
fun.
the schedule like for the panels, which makes me feel really powerful because I'm like, I'm just going to write these two names together and then they're going to be up on stage and people are going to line up to see them.
Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
I probably shouldn't be talking too much behind the scenes stuff, but there's probably going to be a panel with Lenny James and other Fear the Walking Dead people. And I was like, I want to put him on a panel with Carl McKinnon, who played, I forgot his name, but he was the Kingdom guy that Morgan killed. Do you remember?
Yes, right.
Just so they can like confront each other. I like doing that. Put together characters. Like there's going to probably be a Governor Andrea panel, stuff like that.
You do like to stir the pot, man.
See if I can, if a fight will break out. Anyway, before we get into the premiere, we can't go too far in the podcast without mentioning some incredibly sad news that happened this weekend. You know what I'm going to say?
I know exactly what you're going to say. And super, super sad about the passing of Scott Wilson, who played our beloved Herschel on The Walking Dead. And I heard about it this weekend and I got super, super sad. It came as a real shock because I had heard that he was back on The Walking Dead.
Yeah, apparently he'll be made probably in a flashback or something. I mean, I'm guessing it would.
That's the way they do it.
Who knows if it's just a scene or a sequence of scenes or something, but that'll be hard. It'll be so sad to watch now, but I'm glad he did that if it's true. I'm sorry, people, if this is the first time that you're hearing this, but yeah, it's true. Scott Wilson passed away this Saturday, I believe. He had leukemia. He was 76 years old. His wife, survivors include his wife, Heavenly, who's an artist and an attorney who he married in 77. And his mom, Jewel, died last year at the age of 102.
Wow.
In March. And Walking Dead actors and other colleagues have been speaking out, paying tribute. I'm going to read a couple of those. Kari Payton said, "The first time I met Scott Wilson, he gave me a big hug and said that this thing I'd become a part of was a family. He said I had a responsibility to take care of it. I've tried very hard to do that, sir, and I will continue, I promise. See you on the other side, my friend." It's nice.
Wow. Yeah, that is really nice.
Michael Cudlitz just said, "Rest easy, my friend." Tom Payne said, "Goodbye, Scott Wilson, you absolute legend." Chandler Riggs said, "I'll never forget the things you told me and the time we spent together on set." And then Lauren Cohan, she just posted a picture of her and Scott Wilson hugging and smiling. I think it was from early on because he didn't have his beard yet. And Emily Kinney, who we all remember played Beth, posted a different picture of the two of them together and said, "The best TV dad a girl could ask for. An amazing actor, inspiration, and friend. Love you, Scott. I miss you. R.I.P."
Yeah. I got the opportunity to meet him at a Walker Stalker Con, and he was just hanging out by the sort of one of the side doors. And I happened to be with Mr. Blog at the time, and you might have been there, maybe you weren't there. But I said, "Oh, Scott Wilson," and he turned around and he was so gracious and sweet. And I gushed like a fangirl, the fangirl that I am. And I said that I loved him in Junebug, an amazing movie. People go rent Junebug. It's a wonderful movie. And told him how much I loved him in that too, which he probably doesn't hear much at Walker Stalker Con. It's probably all about The Walking Dead. Anyway, he was so sweet. He gave me a big hug, and it's true. He instantly made you feel like you were his long lost best friend, and that is a talent, and that is a blessing. And I after that I was a little bit in love with him. Just thought, wow, that guy is amazing, and so it's very sad. I'll miss him.
Yeah, I've done a bunch of panels with him, and he's always sweet backstage, and he gives me a little wink or something,
Yeah.
And one of the most recent ones I did with him, he told a story of going out to LA when he was just a young guy and he had nothing, just like hitchhiked out there just to be an actor.
Yeah.
And he got In Cold Blood and In the Heat of the Night in 1967. And so 2017 marked his 50th anniversary as an actor, and he was working the whole time. And he, yeah, I was going to ask you your favorite memory, but you just said, and
that's it.
Mine, I've worked with him a lot doing these panels and things, but I got to say my favorite memory is being in the Walking Dead season 2 finale when he shot me in the head with his magic shotgun.
With the never-ending bullets.
Yeah. And there was one scene where I was like at the spearhead of a few, like 3 or 4 zombies just ambling towards him, and he had to reload his gun, and I was just fresh new at this. I didn't even do any zombie school or anything, and I was walking towards him, and he was trying to reload that gun, and he couldn't get it in there, and he's like, the zombie's coming too fast, I can't reload my gun, or something like that. And he was like, kind of being self-deprecating about it, though, even though it was my fault. I'm like, oh shit, I better slow down.
Shamble more, man, shamble.
That was pretty funny. But anyway, mostly I just remember him being a sweetheart at the conventions to everybody that he ran into, and just being a really, really cool guy. So we're all really sad about that. And he said a few years ago, he said, I've accomplished more than I would have hoped to have accomplished. I don't want to be a big movie star. I can be someone who walks the streets and not get mobbed. Yet I want to be as fine an actor as I can be. I'm still striving for that, to be as good as I can be. And that was like the year that he started Walking Dead. So I imagine that in these last few years, he has gotten mobbed.
Yeah. But hopefully it was respectful, and hopefully everybody had as good an experience as I did.
He made it good. Yeah. I've heard other stories like that where people who approached him, he would give him a hug and a nice word or something.
Afterwards, you could definitely see all the big red hearts in my eyes.
Just like popping out.
Yep.
Okay, well, rest in peace, Herschel. Let's move on to our Deadcast Top 5.
Let's do it.
Attention, shoppers. Deadcast Top 5 in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, it's our top 5 highlights for Walking Dead season 999, episode 1, A New Beginning. So how did you like it? Are you...
Yeah, I thought the title fit the episode pretty well. It felt like a new beginning, and in that way, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun watch. It had good moments. It had some traditionally Walking Dead moments. But all in all, I was happy I was there for the ride. How about you?
Cool. Are you bummed that they didn't show Negan, though? I know you probably...
So sad.
Yeah.
So very sad.
Yeah, I liked it. I was primed for it. I was getting good vibes and buzz from people behind the scenes and in the news and everything. So, but often when I have higher expectations, I'm disappointed, and I didn't feel that way. I mean, it was a good story. It didn't blow me away, but I'm like, yeah, they're going in a new direction, and that feels good. And I thought it was well executed, and there were some things that I really liked about it a lot, and it set up some interesting things, and there were a few surprises. So overall, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad to be back watching The Walking Dead. And oh man, I know you haven't really been paying that much attention to Fear, but I've just been kind of bummed out about Fear. So it's great to get back into The Walking Dead proper.
Have you been bummed out because it was wonderfully sad and touching, or have you been bummed out because it was sort of not what you were expecting this season?
Yeah, I mean, they really just decided to make a whole new show, and they killed off the main characters from seasons past, including Kim Dickens, who played Madison and who didn't want to leave the show. And so I thought, well, shit, man, if they're going to do that, then it better be good. And it seemed like it was starting off really good. And throughout the whole thing, there were some things that were great about it. The they got this great cinematographer in there that knows how to film zombies better than anything on The Walking Dead. Well, except for maybe this episode, which I'll get into. But the story just, the writing, the dialogue, and it just started to get really simplistic. And I mean, the listeners don't want to, especially the ones who actually enjoyed it, which there are a bunch, don't want to hear me rehashing it. But you kind of get the idea. I'm like, dude, if you were gonna break my show, then and give me this, nah.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So let's get into our top 5 for this episode. What's your number 5?
Okay. So my number 5, I'm going to start with the beginning, which is as I often do with the opener. I love a good opener, and I thought this was a terrific one. It was sort of great, like, oh yeah, that's right, the show. I like the show. It's had its hard times the last couple seasons, but it was fun to get back into it. It was like, oh hey Rick, hey Michonne, and then there they are checking out a murder of crows, and so then we have the sanctuary, and they have a bad corn crop, but then they are making ethanol, so it's kind of great. They are working on converted motorcycles that run on ethanol, and there's horseback riding, and wow, this is great. I wouldn't spend time in this place. They're making alternative fuels. They're riding horses. There's Eugene talking to Tara, and he says, time to go, the crops are failing, so time to go medieval on the problem, as it were, which now I kind of understand, since they were looking to get some old-fashioned tools to help them with the crops. There's Jesus and Aaron, which is kind of great, and personally, I'd love to see the two of them get together. There's Jerry on horseback, and there's Washington, D.C., and then we end with the credit sequence. And the credit sequence I thought looked great. It's animated and kind of looks watercolory and beautiful. And the crows are sort of a theme. They fly out of the tree, and then the tree blooms, which is kind of fabulous and hopefully symbolic. So yeah, the opener made me really happy.
Yeah, talking about all this, the ethanol, and just seeing the dynamics of how they're trying to make society work. I thought about you because I know you've talked about wanting to see more of that. Did that feel like this was hinting at that or getting at that more a little bit?
Yes.
The whole episode, right?
It scratched that itch. I'll get into it a little bit more later on, but yeah, that got served, and I was very happy. Plus, the zombies look really good. They're very warm.
I know. We say that every season, but this, I don't know, man. This time, seeing that opening sequence, especially in DC, going through the streets of DC, I was like, wow, I thought that I was over zombies, that I was so sick of them and I didn't give a shit anymore. Yeah. And I'm feeling that same feeling that got me wanting to do this podcast in the first place, because they look a little different and maybe more advanced and worn, but just so creepy. And I even think that they changed maybe the way that they have instructed the zombies to move, because one thing that kind of bugs me about The Walking Dead is they tell you move like you're drunk, and zombies don't move like a drunk person. They move like a non-human, like herky jerky. Right. And don't you think I don't know, maybe it's just my imagination, but it seemed like the zombies in this episode moved a little more herky jerky, like Romero zombies.
I would agree, and there was something extra creepy about them, and sort of ethereal, and that's how zombies should be. They shouldn't be like your drunk uncle. They should be
something, supernatural or otherworldly, alien.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I was just so digging it. And then doing my research, I read an interview with Nicotero, which I was going to put in the news, but I'm just going to, because this is my number 5, by the way, how great the zombies are. And so Nicotero said to Entertainment Weekly, well, they asked, I love when you all go back to the city because it gives the show a throwback vibe to itself because it's all sort of started there. And he goes, right. And listen, if you think about it, that whole moment when we're in the city streets and we see a walker and then we see another walker, that's very much a love letter to George Romero, because I was very much inspired by the opening of Day of the Dead, which I love that opening. I mean, to me, that opening, if you haven't seen Day of the Dead, it's mostly down in this military bunker, but it was meant to be up in the city and they just didn't have the budget, I think. So that opening is like the promise of a better movie that never happened. But it was a good movie. But anyway, so he goes on, when they're in the city and the helicopter lands and they're hauling out looking for survivors. When I spoke to my editor, Alan Cody, I said, I want you to watch the beginning of Day of the Dead because there's a very specific rhythm that I want to build. And I want the audience to feel like this world is dead. That's why we see all the burned out cars and all the debris blowing across the street. I just wanted to really feel that. So again, I'm really trying to embrace the genre roots of The Walking Dead. And of the 3 episodes I've directed this season so far, I'm really, really desperately making sure that those genre elements are there.
Yeah. And it's funny because he was on The Talking Dead, and I think it was him who said that he wanted, he said, this is a Western. And that's kind of part of what he was going for, the vibe he was going for. And I'm like, yeah, that is kind of what it is.
I mean, Rick has always seemed like a Gary Cooper type.
Yes.
Sheriff, Old West sheriff.
Yeah.
Well, except when he's just a crazy madman, but yeah.
But it's had sort of a Western feel to it, a look to it, with
like instead of tumbleweeds blowing by, it's a piece of trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Paper or whatever.
Exactly.
And I thought, I read this and I'm like, then I watched it again and I'm like, it does seem just like Day of the Dead, the opening, except then our badass zombie fighters who've been in the apocalypse for several years ride by on their horses and start chopping the shit out of them, which was pretty cool. It's like, this is what happens when Romero meets Rick Grimes. Woo! Which is super cool. And I think you kind of mentioned, but yeah, they really, in the other zombie scenes, they took their time with it. I feel like they had a goal to be like, let's not treat the Zeds as something in the background, at least for this episode. Let's really take our time with the creepiness. Like the one that Carol sees first, you just see the fingers and hands coming up and they're all gnarled and wiggly.
Yep.
We haven't seen stuff like that. Or down in the bowels of the museum with cobwebs everywhere, and then one grabs Sadiq's leg and then the spiders come out of its eye sockets.
That was the best. That I loved. Okay, that might be my zombie of the week. Sometimes I say it's a zombie kill of the week, but this week it's going to be my zombie of the week. Mm-hmm. And I like the fact that Sadiq was freaked out, but probably more than anything, he was freaked out by the spiders on the zombie.
He really sold that. He's like, I don't like spiders. Right. And it reminded me of Indiana Jones with snakes, right? Yeah.
Snakes. It had to be snakes. Yep.
And, I thought, maybe because I kind of thought one of the reasons I was over zombies is because they're just not that much of a credible threat anymore, because our characters know how to take care of them. And I'm like, maybe even the one that Rick kind of stared at for a while, just so we could see the awesomeness of Nicotero's work, and then he put a hatchet in its head. Yeah. Maybe they just need to have some artistry around how they're presented, even if they're not that much of a threat, to just take their time and just stage it well and build up the creepy factor. And because that's what this episode did, and it totally worked for me.
I love that one in particular. Is that the one that's behind the counter at the front of the museum, the zombie docent? If you look closely, you can see that the zombie docent is wearing a sweater, like all good museum docents.
Right.
And I love that.
We're walking.
Right, exactly. Rick puts the hatchet in the zombie and then grabs a brochure.
He did? Oh,
he grabbed a brochure because you have to have a museum map to know where all the things are. So,
I just loved, this is totally out of left field for where we are, but when right in the middle of a conversation, Michonne gets this wistful look in her eye, and you see that she's staring at this kind of a, I don't know, what do you call it? It's like a poster, but on the wall it says "We the People," and
the display.
Yeah. And it just reminded her of the past of civilization.
Yep.
And you could see the emotion in her, and Denai Greer did such a great job with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what does she see?
exactly.
What does she see? And then you see it's that poster, and it's like, yeah, I would totally feel like that too.
Yep. Oh, so good.
A couple more just quick zombie things. So there's
Yeah.
zombie scarecrow, and which Daryl doesn't approve of because that's what the saviors did. They use zombies for stuff, but we're civilized. We don't do that. Plus, he's just grumpy as hell. But the X-shaped cross, they do that in X-Men comics a lot. They have people bound to X-shaped crosses, so it reminded me of that.
That's interesting. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then later they're talking about, well, not later, but I think it's early on, about herd migration and the logistics of it. And I think Rosita's saying, maybe they're naming the herds. She said 2 other herds merged into Sylvia. So they're naming the herds like storms, maybe.
Oh, yeah, that makes
Right.
sense.
And
Like hurricanes.
yeah, exactly. And I was thinking, well, it's kind of cool that they're talking about the logistics of navigating around herds, because they did that whole thing in season 3, episode 1, about that was sort of their justification why they hadn't moved very far. And then they kind of just let go of that and never referred to it again. So even though I was sort of like, oh, it's good they didn't refer to it because I think it's kind of dumb, there's also a part of me that's like, well, I'm glad that if they were going to introduce that element, that it would come back sometimes.
I don't know. We humans are quite the herd animals. You know, we'll follow the leader. So
Yeah.
it sort of makes sense.
Especially the more zombie-like among us.
Yes, exactly. Me in the morning.
All right, number 4. Yeah, I
All
just
right.
want to join a cult when I wake up, usually.
Yeah, exactly. It's the coffee cult. All right. So my number 4 is the wonderful American History Museum. I loved it so much. And as I mentioned before, I had been jonesing for some reference to the fact that they're going to have to go back to a simpler time. They're going to have to go back to simpler methods. And
In order to progress and rebuild,
Yeah.
they have
Yep.
to go back. So to go forward, they need to go back
that is exactly right. That is exactly right. They can no longer rely on modern
on their
technology.
iPhones and
Yeah.
their Teslas. Yeah.
All right. So I love that they're coming to the point where they're changing it up to a simpler, more agrarian society, which is really important. And we've been waiting for years to see this happen. And one of the things that we had to get past, and for us, it's years. For them, it's like, what was it, a couple months to get past the all-out war. The all-out war for them didn't progress very long. It was only like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, it was like 4 days for them and like 10 years for us, something like that.
Right. Exactly. So it's really fun to see it. I've been waiting for this to happen. And I love that they're talking about learning the trades. In fact, the guys on horseback. And I love that they're on horseback. I had a horse when I was young, so it makes me really happy.
I feel like, horses might be a big part of this show from now on. They are in the comics.
Yeah, they're going to have to be. They're going to have to figure out a way to get around. Also, you'd think that they would have figured out that bikes are a good way to get around too.
Jenny says that all the time.
In terms of calories expended per mile, bikes are the most efficient form of transportation.
But one thing I also loved about this episode is they're showing a lot of overgrowth, which really they should have actually shown a lot more by now
Right.
if it was going to be accurate.
Which horses can handle.
That would hinder bikes.
True. You're 100% right. So in order to be riding around with these horses, they're going to have to shoe the horses. And so they were talking about being apprentice horseshoers. A horseshoer is also known as a farrier. And not easy to be. Not easy to be a farrier. I remember this farrier that used to shoe my horse. He would talk about how his back was aching all the time. And you could see it like every once in a while when he was shoeing a horse, he'd have the horse's hoof between his knees and he'd be putting on a new shoe and the horse would just sort of start leaning on him.
Oh God.
And then he'd give the horse an
like,
elbow. And the horse would be like, all right, 3 legs. And so it ain't easy being a farrier, but it's so great. So it's nice to imagine that, here are these young guys that in today's world would be, maybe they'd be, in college, or they'd be looking down at their iPhone, or they would be playing games or whatever. But in this world, they're going to have to learn how to do a trade. And, I wish I learned more about plumbing and carpentry, actually, especially plumbing. I could really use that. It's not as useful to know how to fix a car because cars these days are so modern. They're hard for just a journeyman to fix. You have to be sort of a specialist using specialized computers to fix a car. But you still need to know about plumbing and carpentry, so I really wish I knew that stuff. And I love that. I love the scene with Rick and Anne in the museum, looking at the seed bank that was there in the museum and the heirloom seeds that they found at the museum. It totally makes sense. Fun fact: have you heard about this global seed vault in Norway?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Keeping, in case of an emergency.
Yeah.
In case of disaster. But now, how long do the seeds last? That was my first thought.
I think they're replacing them on a pretty regular basis. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is funding the operation of the seed bank.
Okay, but not in the museum in the zombie apocalypse.
Oh, yeah. The seeds would be, if they were kept dry and sort of temperature controlled, more or less, in those drawers, they could last for a couple of years. They'd still be viable. So it depends. But if they're cool and dry, you can keep seeds viable for a little while. So I think you could make a good case that those seeds would still be viable. Not all of them, but maybe many of them. So it really makes sense.
After a couple of years.
Yeah. They'd still be fine. I just planted a bunch of kale from seeds that I think were like 2 years old.
Cool.
So yeah, cool. And I love that they were getting a plow. That makes sense. That's how they're going to plow the fields.
And Maggie said our blacksmith can use this as a template to make more.
Yep. And they're going to get a canoe. They're going to get a covered wagon. I was like, yeah, you would raid the Natural History Museum. The American History Museum. You'd rate it for these really useful things. So cool. I love it. Anyway.
Yeah, it makes me wonder about that book that they got from that woman, remember, that you liked so much?
Yes. And I think they showed it, didn't they?
Did they? Probably. I feel like, it's still going to play in. They're not going to just drop that.
Yeah, How to Do Stuff, volumes 1-5. Yeah, it's great. And I also like that they spoke about, Daryl talks to Rick about why the sanctuary's crops are failing. And he says, it's a damn factory. So it makes sense. The soil was never good in the first place. It was a factory. They probably even, I don't know, maybe they even, dumped chemicals in the area. And so there's a reason why probably the crops are failing. And I love that he talks about the infrastructure is failing too. He's like, the sanctuary is really far from the other places, and the bridges and the roads are failing. And of course, Rick ignores them, which is, dumb. But
he makes it a priority to fix the bridge.
Yeah.
He didn't ignore him.
But he didn't ignore he's like, we should really close up the sanctuary. That's what Daryl's saying to him is, why are we here at the sanctuary at all? We should really close it up and relocate people to other places.
Did he say that?
He didn't say it.
So, but I wondered about that because Rick said, we're going to have to find a way to make this work, which is what you say when you're really trying hard to have this ideal, but you don't know exactly how you're going to do it. And you have a lot of opposition and you're like, okay, I know it's not clear to even me right now how we're going to do this, but let's just get on the same page that we're going to try to figure it out. Otherwise, we're never going to be successful, right? And Daryl is on the other side of that, like, no, I'm not into it. Let's not do it.
Yeah.
And that's on a macro scale, or sometimes it can be in a marriage where you're just like, let's go this way. Well, that's going to be too hard. Well, it'll be easier if we decide that we're going to do it and that we're going to figure it out. You know what I mean? So, Daryl's just over it. And I don't know if Daryl was suggesting, hey, let's shut this place down and relocate everybody. That actually seems like a sensible idea. But my impression that he was just like, oh, fuck these people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you don't think so?
No, I think he has he's been traumatized by the sanctuary.
Yeah.
He's been traumatized by the sanctuary and he probably wants to get the hell out of there. Who can blame him? And I also think that he's got some really good points, man. The infrastructure is failing. It's really far away. There is no fuel. It takes forever to get out there. Why are they keeping it around?
Yeah.
And the crops don't grow. Like, what are they doing out there, man? They're not making anything. It's not a factory anymore. And how are they going to support the people? And he tells Rick, he's like, back in the day, this place relied on, Negan had people bring food to them. And are we going to keep that up forever? How long is that going to last? So I dig what he says, and I think they should move. I think they should move to all three places. By the way, so do we know right now that Alexandria is still going strong? So is Hilltop. We know that Oceanside is still around.
Yep.
And do we know that the kingdom is still around?
Yeah, they mentioned something about the kingdom. I can't remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure that's where Ezekiel is. Yeah.
Shut down the sanctuary and move everybody to other places. There's not that many people anymore. That's all I'm saying. Plus, well, Carol should be with King Ezekiel. And right now she's at the sanctuary trying to make it work. If you know what, Carol can make it work. If anyone can make it work, Carol can make it work. So, yeah.
I mean, I think if you're saying that Daryl was saying, let's relocate all these people, that's sensible and something that Rick should consider. But I just think probably because in a TV show, you need drama, that what they were really getting at is that Daryl was saying, let's just give up on these people. And Rick was saying, no, I don't want to give up on these people. You know what I mean? I think that's the conflict. Not let's relocate. No, let's not relocate.
Yeah. And that's actually what Maggie's saying, what she implied too. Is, she's like, to Rick at the end, she's like, well, I don't see why we have to keep feeding them. They surrendered.
Exactly.
Why are we still taking care of them?
Yeah. Well, that leads into my number 4.
Do it.
Okay, so it's the political situation and how that sort of reflects the growing discord between Rick and Maggie. We're seeing the regrowth and evolution of society, and not everyone is totally on the same page. And it's interesting to me to see that a lot of like how the lives of so many people will be directed and dictated, or at least affected, just based on the ideals of a few people. And in this case, I'm talking about Maggie and Rick and the people that directly influence them, because I think sometimes it's hard to watch this episode and not think about our own current politics and everything, not to get really specific about it. But I think Maggie and Rick have their own personal points of view that are going to affect a lot of people. So it comes down to the emotional realities of these two people that can be translated into directions for a lot. So what I'm getting at is Maggie has this really hard situation in this episode.
Yes, she does.
Kid dies, Ken.
Yep. Kenny. Whoever he was.
Kenny, yeah. Oh, you killed Kenny.
She killed Kenny.
And she has to be like this leader that has to answer to the loved ones when someone in her charge dies in the line of duty. And in this case, it's helping people who belong to this group that used to brutalize them and take half their stuff, and also who brutally killed her husband. So it's like, what the fuck, man? Why is this happening? I can understand the parents being pissed off about that and wanting answers. Why? And then they're saying Gregory's the one who said he'd always put Hilltop first. So it's like you have that impulse, like, oh, take care of our people, not put ourselves on the line for these other people who threatened us before. So that's where she's coming from.
Yeah.
And this is like after a war, when you need to give foreign aid, or you need to decide whether you're going to give foreign aid to the defeated country.
Yes. And you also have leaders that have gone down in power. Gregory, who called for an election, just lost the vote to Maggie.
I'm glad he called for the election, because I think he probably thought he could win because he's a deluded fuck.
Yes. Well, no, he's not a deluded fuck anymore.
No, he's just a dead fuck.
Oh, so politics ain't easy, and it is a messy business.
Yeah, case in point. So now here's Rick's point of view. Is his his son died telling him there has to be something after dad, and trying to point him in the direction of helping and bringing people together. And he wants to keep everything thriving and peaceful among all the communities, and he's committed to helping the people at Sanctuary. And I loved how a lot of them looked up to him as this heroic, legendary figure. Rick, he's the one who stopped the war. Is Negan suffering? I hope he damn well is. But then there's this contingent who's like, we're still saviors, which I like that. It's like, you could see if you're, this Sanctuary's falling apart, as Daryl's pointed to. And they're like, well, why, it was better under Negan, like that, That's kind of like how the Russians, after the Cold War was over, and then the economy didn't take off like it was supposed to. And people like, what? Why did we give that up for this? So
it was better under Stalin.
Yeah. So, anyways, Rick asks Maggie to give more food to Sanctuary. She says she'll let the Hilltoppers work on this bridge, which is essential to helping Sanctuary as well, but only give food if they provide most of the labor on the bridge and give her all the fuel from the corn. I think that's the sticking point that Rick's like, oh, they're already suffering. Like, fuck, man, you're putting me in a really hard place here. So there's all this tension between them.
Yep.
And then on top of that, when Gregory tries to kill her and she has him executed, I think that was in part a message to Rick, like, because she says, at Hilltop, I want people to know that the punishment fits the crime. And
harsh.
That's all about Negan. She's like, look, Rick, the punishment needed to fit the crime. This is how it should be. And I thought about Michonne. She was telling Rick in their pillow talk, let's have a charter, the famous Rick Grimes. Let's have a charter. And, she says it pretty simple. We'll say, this is what we believe. This is how we treat each other. And this is what happens when we don't, which sounds really simple. But Maggie upended all of that because she's saying what I believe is totally different from what you believe, and what happens when we don't treat each other well is different. So there's just this huge schism between Rick and Maggie now, and it's only gonna lead to terrible things going forward.
Well, she even said, and this was ominous, put the kids to bed. It's gonna get dark soon.
Yeah, really dark. Yeah.
Yep, they did get dark.
And then the kids didn't go to bed either.
They went to bed and then they got up again. They were like, can we have a glass of water? Oh, fuck.
Oh my God. I was just playing that scene of when Herschel shot me with his magic shotgun, and Nico was next to me, and I usually don't let him watch Walking Dead at all, but he's 7 now, and I'm like, I'm going to show him this, because he actually totally doesn't really get scared by stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, look at this. And he's all, that's you. Were you in a TV show? I was like, yep.
Daddy got to be shot several times. And stabbed, I think.
It was an honor.
Daddy got a bonus for falling.
That's right.
$50.
The stabbing was not in The Walking Dead, but it was something else. It was different.
So I have a question. I didn't quite understand this, even though I watched it twice. So she kills Gregory, who is the mastermind, I guess, behind the scheme to overthrow her. He says, "Oh, Maggie, you're out for a walk. Hey, Glenn's grave has been desecrated," and he knows that she'll walk over to the grave, I guess. And then the friend in the hoodie, the father of Kenny, is waiting, and he attacks her. So he got off. It looks like he got off without any punishment.
He was standing there with his head hanging
and his hands tied. But I don't know that. I mean, he literally attacked her and tried to kill her, but apparently he's not dead. So I'm wondering, she has a funny little way to decide who dies, who doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I guess she figured out, and it was pretty clear, that Gregory was behind it.
Sure.
And it is interesting because a lot of times in our society, the foot soldiers take the heat, and the people higher up who actually put it all in motion get away, right? And you have to go through these long trials and everything to get people to talk and squeal and give them immunity so you can finally get to the mastermind at the top.
Oh, maybe he squealed.
So, well, yeah, but I mean, I just think Maggie was like, forget all that. I know who did it.
I figured it out. It wasn't actually hard.
And I don't need to, I'm in charge. I'm basically the king, or the queen. But anyway, I think maybe we'll see if they deem it to be worth covering in the story that this guy won't just get off scot-free, but he won't get executed for what he did.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, they're suffering. Certainly they're suffering. And she can make a case for that. They just lost Kenny. So she could make a case
Kenny will be back next week, though. He always is.
It'd be funny if they did that.
I know. He shows up again and then he gets killed again. That would be so bold of the show to just insidiously totally change what the show is little by little until it's like Naked Gun by the end of the season.
It'd be fantastic. They'll never do it. All right. Well, that was kind of my number 3 also.
Okay. Well, my number 3, which kind of fits in, is just growth and renewal and signs of that. And you mentioned the opening sequence, but yes, I thought it was totally badass.
Yeah.
That The Walking Dead, when it first started, I think the opening sequence was super boring. It was like showing, I don't know what it was showing, but I remember thinking, I can't wait till this is over every time. And then it got pretty good when they changed it to start showing their items, the gun and the bullet and what else, the crossbow and all that. But this one is just another level of amazing awesomeness because of the choppy animated look. And my favorite though is, they showed different things from the past and present of the show, the helicopter, the crossbow, the overgrowth and all that. But I like how it focuses on the zombies a little bit. There's one standing at this break in a wall, and then there's at the very end, it's the camera pans out from a zombie's glowing eye and then pans around it, and he's got this awesome zombie stance.
Yeah.
And so it's just another sign that the show remembers that, oh yeah, zombies are cool. Let's focus on the coolness of the zombies.
Zombies really are cool. They really are.
But that wall that the zombie was in the middle of, it was written near it said final warning. And I think that's the Alexandria wall. So that's some kind of a sign of something to come. I don't know.
Did you notice that the gate to Alexandria has changed? It's now a giant sort of log beam with spears all around it. And it goes back, you can sort of pull it back and push it forward. And so it's a zombie gate now, which I thought was great.
That's great. That all goes back to Morgan. They learned a lot from him, I think, with his stabby.
Oh, yeah.
And then just as far as growth and renewal, it's the show's called A New Beginning, the episode. It's Angela Kang. This new opening, there's overgrowth all throughout the episode in Washington, D.C. and even in Alexandria. It's the first time the Walking Dead logo has not, every time before this, each year it decays a little bit more. Now it's got mossiness to it.
A greenish hue.
And there's the focus on women. The show, especially in recent years, has always been notable for its strong women. But just seeing Carol, Maggie, and Michonne walking together was an awesome scene, right?
Yep.
And talking about democracy and everything, and not showing Negan, that was also a statement. And even focus on Judith a little bit. And I think this little girl actress that plays Judith is great. I'm pretty sure they were just playing with her and filming it, and she didn't even have any lines, because when she said Rick had a big belly and Denai Greer started laughing, I felt that was really genuine. So I'd be really impressed if that was planned out.
Super cute.
Yeah.
Daddy has a frowny face.
So just having a feeling that, yes, the thing that we hope for, that the show really is trying to strike out in a new direction, gives me a lot of hope for the rest of the season.
And baby Glenn, or baby Herschel.
Yeah. Little Asian baby, half Asian.
Yeah. So cute. Oh, that baby is super, super cute.
Cute.
So yeah, that's also, rebirth and
Yeah.
renewal and hope and the future. I was looking
Absolutely.
at that
Until he dies.
until he dies. That's yes.
Sorry.
It is The Walking Dead.
That's horrible. Okay, what were you saying?
I said it when I was looking at the little baby. I was thinking, wow, what kind of world is, just trying to imagine the kind of world a little kid like that would be growing up in.
I know. Yeah, it would just be normal.
Yeah, it's normal. And you'd hear about how it was before. You'd hear about this before time, and it would just seem like a whole different thing.
I don't think the zombies would seem super scary. They would just be more like how we think of wild animals, which is kind of scary, but not in the same way as zombies.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You go if you go out hiking in a park in some of these really out back parks, you might come across bears, and so you carry a bear spray or whatever, and you think about that. You think about hiding your food and protecting yourself from wild animals, and it would probably be the same way. You're right.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 is a really short one, but this is another thing that I really wanted to see, and we finally got to see it. Washington, D.C. I was wondering for a long time, ever since they arrived in Alexandria. I'm like, show Washington, D.C. Show it. And we finally got to see it. So it was great. And it looks like I sort of froze on a couple of things. They show the Capitol building. The Capitol building looks bad. They showed the Washington Monument, which looks like it got some damage at the very top of it. That's the white obelisk, giant, tall thing. And it looks like it has some damage at the very top, which makes me think that maybe there was some sort of air fight,
because if it's 2 years later, the buildings aren't going to look like it's 150 or several hundred. It's not going to be like ancient Rome. And I think my suspicion is that that they're not thinking about that there was some fight, maybe, but I feel like they're just like, what would look cool? It doesn't matter if it's real. But maybe you're right. Maybe there were bombs, they tried to bomb the zombies out or something. I don't know.
The reflecting pool looked like it was full of weeds, which makes sense also. Mm-hmm. It just looked great.
Yeah.
And I was so glad to see it. I mean, not glad, but I was like, there it is.
It's new. It's fresh. Mm-hmm. It's also like, dude, yeah, of course. Go there. They're right next to it.
Right. Exactly.
So very
like
cool.
They would be going there because it's full of universities, it's full of hospitals, it's full of useful things that they would need. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense that they would go there on occasion. And so I'm glad they went there and visited a nice museum, which I would do too. If I were in Washington, D.C., I'd go to a nice museum.
Yeah, it's something new. And I think I've said many times on this podcast, I like when they go into more populated areas, and I think it's probably not done as much because it's more expensive to film, but It's cool.
It's super cool. It makes me also sad because I thought, wow, all right, there is no government. I mean, maybe there is a government in like Denver, Colorado, or maybe it's up in Wyoming. Maybe it's somewhere else. Maybe there's some big thriving metropolis in Canada or somewhere else in the world, but it ain't in Washington, D.C.
Right. It's wherever, I guess it was in 2010. So it's like Joe Biden and I don't know. Whoever's left.
Zombie Joe Biden.
Yeah, zombie Joe Biden. Okay, well, my number 2, a little bit on Gregory because Gregory's dead. Isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
dead. Sort of wondered that because in hangings, usually there's a really hard drop and then a snap. And it seemed instead like him, they just kind of let him hang there and he just died immediately.
He swung.
Then when they cut him down, I'm like, he's dead, right? I mean, I figured he was, but it was a little
He might
weird.
be the zombie right. Gregory.
Oh,
but
yeah.
did you notice that they put that at one point the camera was sort of behind him and you could see him sort of swing in front of the camera?
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think Maggie should have executed him?
No, I don't. I think it was super harsh and super fast. I know she was angry, but I don't think that's a great way to run your society.
Mhm.
I think that there should be rules, there should be a structure in place. If you break the rules, we know that there's jails.
Yeah.
So,
and at the least, maybe at least consulted somebody else.
yeah.
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 To take the temperature.
She seems like she's a one-woman justice system, and I
Right.
think that is a very bad path to go down. So no, I don't think she should.
Yeah, I guess I agree with you. I think there's going to be a lot of pushback on that from listeners, but
Gregory's a weasel, but he's not a dangerous weasel once you've outed, and he seems like he's kind of a dumb weasel. So once you've outed his dumb weaselly plans, you're not in much danger from him.
yeah. I mean, you could at this point just say you're out of here.
Yeah.
Good luck,
Yeah.
buddy.
Good luck. Here's a little knapsack. Good luck. Go for double tap. Cardio, Gregory. Cardio.
Right. Well, anyway, I maintain that Xander Berkeley is great, and I think he's done such an awesome job with his character. And as much as personally, I think maybe that was excessive for Maggie to do, I think for the show and where she's at, it was a cool development. And this stuff played out. I think Lucy and Derek will say, and we'll talk about it a lot in Comic Talk, but it played out over a much greater period in the comics, I think, or at least longer. So I thought, oh, this is going to be an episode 8 thing mid-season. And it happened in the first episode. And I thought, ooh, I wonder if this means that Angela Kang is aware that one of the big criticisms is things move too slow, so she's speeding things along.
Good.
Or is it just that Lauren Cohan doesn't have that many more episodes left, and so they had to get through this, I hope it's more the first one, because that would be awesome, that she's just like, let's get through some story versus dwelling on things too much.
Yeah, I agree.
But I just want to, in honor of Gregory, I will play my favorite clip. Here it is.
Rhetorical, okay?
That's it.
Okay.
Okay. Are we sorry to see him go?
Rhetorical, okay?
Not really. I mean, I'm like,
Gregory.
yeah, he was great, but okay, good. Enough of him. He's a weasel. Okay, what's number one?
That's funny. Okay. So, breaking through the glass floor. Women breaking through the glass floor.
Oh, is that good? I think so.
It really wasn't
If
a
you
woman.
stand on your head.
Right, exactly. So back in the museum, and I loved it. I loved the whole glass floor thing. I loved that you look beneath the glass floor and there are zombies swimming around as
It's
if
an
you're...
exhibit.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
is that real, by the way? In that museum? I imagine
well, they
it
didn't
is.
film. They didn't film it at the museum, and I don't even think they tried to make it look like that. I mean, they tried to make it look. They put up banners and things like that, but I don't think that that's in the actual American History Museum in Washington, D.C. They filmed it at the state capitol in Atlanta, Georgia. And
okay.
the inside was all a big studio. I believe that was just a giant set piece. But I've seen those giant glass floors, and they scare me because I am terrified of heights. Even one floor, it makes me gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
I've heard of exhibits in places like, I guess it's Vegas, where you can walk out over a skyway.
Or
Japan.
In Grand Canyon, you can do it now.
Yes, exactly. You couldn't pay. There's not enough money in the world to get me out there. You'd have to really push me. Or possibly drag me.
And push you out there. I'm playing Spider-Man game right now, and it's just incredible. They've recreated Manhattan, and each building is unique, and you can visit the Empire State or the what's the new building? The Freedom Tower or whatever.
Yeah, right.
And they have like Avengers Tower, so they put Marvel buildings in there. But when you climb up to the top and you look down and see all the cabs and people below, and then you jump off to swing, and you get a feeling of vertigo as Spider-Man. It's like, I don't want to jump off a perfectly good building. It's pretty cool. You start swinging around. Woo.
Yeah. Or like when Indiana Jones had to step out into nothing to take a leap of faith in order to get the Holy Grail.
In the Holy Grail, yeah. Anyways.
Breaking through the glass floor. One thing, although I loved it, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed the whole thing. And appreciated the drama of it all. I didn't like the fact that they gave you an overhead shot. And the overhead shot, you can see that all they needed to do for this, like maybe not the covered wagon, but for everything else, all you need to do is go off to either side and you're on solid ground. So it
yeah, it seemed like, oh, are we back in stupid Department of Suspension Disbelief territory here a little bit? I don't know.
Don't show us a beautiful overhead shot. I love the overhead shot. Don't show us that gorgeous overhead shot where you can really see that all they need to do is step to one side. So I know that they have to fill an hour, but still, good Lord.
Well, that big cart was pretty unwieldy, and
yes,
there was a stairway, and
and you know what they could have done? They could also have. I mean, Rick Grimes was right there at the very edge, right there at the front of the cart, and I was thinking, Rick, just put a rope on it and pull from the safety of the solid ground instead of the crackling glass.
Walking across it.
Dude.
Yeah.
At least they showed him walking, like try to walk on the steel beams, like over on the steel beams. But Ezekiel could have also, they were like, oh, it's giving way. And Ezekiel fell perfectly through one of the one of the squares of glass. I'm like, Ezekiel. And then they had that sweet scene afterwards where he proposed to her and she was like, nope, it's not A, I don't want to. B, we're on horseback.
Yeah, dude, come on. Well, that leads me into my number one, which is Carol, Daryl, and Ezekiel triangle.
Ooh, you think that's a triangle?
No, I don't. Which is actually what's great. Well, first off, yes, Ezekiel breaks through this glass, almost dies, and then we see them kiss. And that was, I thought, a really cool way to reveal that they had gotten together, and we don't have to go through the whole beginning stages of it. I mean, that's weird with Carol, though. Same thing with Tobin. Like, we never see her strike up a relationship. We just see her in the midst of surprise relationships. Who is it going to be next?
Right, surprise. And that also, things don't go well for anybody involved with Carol.
Yeah, so far. Ed didn't do so great.
Ed did not do well.
Tobin. But anyway, I wanted to see them together, and it was nice, and it's a good couple. We have actually seen them, skirt around it for a long time.
They had great chemistry right from the start when he revealed himself to her in the garden in the kingdom,
so to speak. Yeah.
He revealed his innermost self.
Got it.
It was sweet, yes. And I love it. And so I want to see them be happy together. But then I also was like, oh shit, they're happy. He's gonna give her a ring.
Yeah, I know. Like, well, the best part is he proposes to her, and she's clearly in love with him, but her response still is, I'm gonna move somewhere else. You could totally believe that because she guards her heart. She's been through a lot.
She has.
Yeah, but she's still giving him a big warm kiss at the end, so she's just taking her time, and I think she'll be open to it, and we'll get another proposal by the end of the season.
And tells Jerry, take care of him.
Yeah, but I thought the proposal was particularly meek and anticlimactic,
yes,
compared to what you would think Ezekiel would do. And I think that's purely because if he had made this grand gesture and then, for purposes of the plot, she says no, then it would have just seemed really sad. So instead he just looks over and, hey, you want to get married?
Right.
like a dopey guy.